There go. Ah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BA show, the Blue Abroad show, Monday, the 25th of September, 2023. We are not gearing up for a grand final appearance this year, but at least we have each other, eh? How are you, Pom?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, we have each other. And that's more than some people have. So, I mean, here we are, eh?
That's
The
a good point.
last post pre-game show ever until next year.
Ever. Yeah. We've just finished the player ratings. That kind of helped. Spoke to Luke Sayers today. That definitely helped. Just to share the pain with the Prez. And, the ride and the dream, I think, is the way to summarize it. The dream ends. Boy, was it a dream run.
Yeah, it was a dream run, wasn't it? I mean, it's a weird feeling, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like there's work to do.
Yeah.
We've got a taste of it. And I mean, I don't know about anyone else. I mean, I've got such a taste of finals now. I want that to be the norm. And I think that's what our duty of fans is to make sure that that's not the norm, to push the club to do that. And I think the club as well, I think that's the norm now. I think they've got a taste of it. And I think this is hectic, isn't it? This is what they're about. This is what we want. And I think we learned a lot. I think we actually learned more in them finals, them three finals, about what we're about as a football club.
Yeah.
And remember at the start of the year, Terry saying I was going to judge them as a top four and people were saying I was too harsh. Well, guess what? We're a top four side, motherfuckers. Four best sides in the land.
Yeah. It took a while to really, I think, to be honestly, I think after that rating show, I've started to feel myself get through it. I was pretty flat. I don't know about you. How did you deal with 24 hours after the final siren? How did it work for you?
I left it all out there in the watch along, to be honest. You know me, never say die. We fight until the final siren. I was really proud of the fourth quarter. I think it was very easy just to cue in the rack and go, right, this ain't happening. I think they fought till the end. And you know what turned me on? This is one of the few times that we've lost a game ever in the history of watching Carlton Football Club. Saying these are the blueprints for how we get better. It was so obvious. It was so obvious that in the first quarter, all they had was kicking the ball down the line and we were maximizing it. And then in the second quarter, all we could do was kick down the line. And you saw the shift in the tactics. And ultimately, the skill set of them was so much smarter than us. And that's exciting when you can actually hold it and it's tangible and you can see where you've got to improve. That's always a good way, I think, to taste defeat when you know, usually when we lose, I'm going to be totally honest with you, chat. I'm like, fuck me, there's so much to fix. Yep. So little time. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, look, for many years, we've been talking about the potential of this team and the potential of this list and look at all the stars that we've got on each line, which we do. And I think in the end, we just got to a point where it was a lost opportunity, yes, but the reality of we play in a league with other teams some of which have been in multiple preliminary finals. The Brisbane Lions have been in, I think, 2 in the last 5 years or 3. That was their third one, in the last 5 years. Like, that has to come into play at some point. This is a team that couldn't even make a final if they tried, it seemed, for many years. Then before you know it, their first final series as a group gets them to a prelim, 2 really intense finals wins, and then a preliminary final where we start off like we are, mate, the way we started, the way we actually threw a serious punch to Brisbane, someone just said it in the chat. It's a totally different pain compared to the pain of 2022. So there is a space for pride. There is a space for, feeling positive that we're on the right track, but there has to be space for disappointment, you know?
Well, if you're not disappointed and you're not a little bit sad, Jesus, that means we're just going to stay there, isn't it?
Yes.
This is going to be it. And I mean, the cold hard facts: 5 out of 11 finals they've won in the last 5 years. Carlton have, up until this game, have won 2 out of 2. So, there it is. They've been there. They've done it. I said this last year, round 23, it was how you'd respond. And my mentality was, you've made the 8, we'll count it. Now you've got to win a final. And they did that. They did that. So at least we know we're a good learning side. We're a good learning side. They took that. They learned that blip in the mid-year. And I think Chris Chungus nails it.
Yep.
When you analyze when you fucked up, you've got to go backwards and go, right, where did it fuck up? Where was the fork in the road? My granddad always used to say to me, life is like being lost in a forest, and you're always taught to lay little things down when you're lost so you can find your way back if it's a dead end. He always used to say to me, don't be one of them idiots who finds the way back, gets into the middle, and then just sits there and dies. Go again. Find that fork in the road and go left instead of right. For the boys, they'll go back, like Chris says. I think if we didn't piss about in the mid-season, we would have had a double chance.
Yep.
We would have had a home final. We were so much more stronger at home. We wouldn't have had to play Brisbane at the Gabba, who haven't lost there. Who knows what might have been? Who knows what might have been? Who knows how good and how deep we would have gone? We wouldn't have had to play that extra bollocks game against Melbourne, which took it out of us. That was a real high intensity, averaging 195 pressure throughout 4 quarters. All these things are what ifs, and you can't answer a what if. It's all hypothetical. But that's one thing these boys can go back and go, right, 2022, we started the year. Thank you very much, Mrs. Pom. We started the year mentally, right? 2023, we started the year okay. Shit middle year. Ended brilliantly. Now we need to find the perfect equilibrium. Just glide into finals, get top 4, and then we have the energy to go batshit crazy for 4 games and win this flag.
Well, you see the value of it, don't you? With the teams that finished in the top 4 and got the double chance, not just this year, but every year. I think this year probably because we were a part of it. So we had no choice but to dream that we could do it from outside the 4. And there are a few things came to mind. Number one, what I just said, okay, it makes a lot of sense why the top 4 spot is critical. And then I think the second part for me after the game and the day after was just looking back at those teams who did actually win the flag from outside the 4. I mean, the Dogs, all of a sudden, I have a lot more respect for those teams that were able to get that done. Because it's a brutal sport as it is. Then you get to finals, it lifts. And I felt like every final we played, it lifted more and more than the week before. So, and this is just part of being new to the game of finals. As a fan, I know there are a lot of supporters who have seen many finals. Forget about the 7 or 8 flags they might have watched. Like, they've witnessed many finals and seen the finals lessons and passed them on. So, to finally live through finals lessons is something I'm grateful for. And I think Gavin's spot on here. Top 2. We got to get ourselves a home prelim in order to give ourselves the best chance to win a premiership.
Mate, spot on. And do you know what I mean? You look, the statistics show, do you know what I mean? Outside of the 4, I mean, just looking at it at the moment, like the data is less than 2% from 8, 6% from 7th,
wow,
8% from 5th. Do you know what I mean? And then it rises. Do you know what I mean? With the hot zone in the last couple of years, incidentally being the top 2 is the monopoly, as we know. Do you know what I mean? 7 premiers from 2nd and 1st. It's that home advantage, and we've seen it ourselves. When we're home, we're kicking ass. Do you know what I mean? When we're at home, we feel a lot bit stronger. And now for Carlton, it's quite simple, isn't it? Top 4 is the aim. After that, top 2 should, and now it's a flag. But I mean, now the situation changes, and I had a real good conversation with my mate. He works up at Adelaide, and he helps me with data quite a lot. real good mate of mine. And he was saying that, he was quite honest with me, saying that you might actually look at this as a blessing in disguise, because he worked with Adelaide when they got to the final. And he said that that loss was so detrimental that some of the players never recovered, because it's kind of embarrassing to get to the grand final and do it. And he said it quite honestly. And when we looked at the data of this game, the running numbers are way down. You can see these boys are fatigued. If they got battered in a grand final, this could have been the end. Like, psychologically, that's the worst place to lose. And you hear sportsmen talk. Getting to the final and losing is worse than losing in the semi-final, because you don't have that what if. Once you're there, you have that what if. Big thing now for the boys is going away and going, right, okay, look, we came this close and we probably overachieved at times from where we were. Got to remember, Sydney, no one gave us a chance because they were the grand finalists last year. Melbourne, no one gave us a chance because they were a better contested side than us and all that bollocks. They've done that. They've got the wins. Now they know what to work on. And that's a wonderful place. But the big change for these boys now will be, the narrative won't be, can they do it? Can they make the 8? Will they make the 8? Now it's going to be expected. Now teams are going to have a target on Carlton's back. Your GWSs, your Doggies, all them sides fighting for top 4 and top 8. They're going to be like, Carlton are one of them teams we've got to knock off and get 4 points against to play in the 8. And that's going to be a real interesting mindset from these boys being the serial underdogs to now teams are going to be like, okay, you guys are real. You guys are real. We want to knock you off. Bit like we used to be when we used to play teams and be like, oh, it'd be great to fucking knock these bastards out. Now everyone's going to be like, we want to beat Carlton.
I think that, look, there may be something to fear with that, greater fixture, harder draw, all of that. But then I think also that notion would put fear for the first time into opposition teams, because they know what we can do. That is a very interesting point. I'm also curious around, I would say 2 years in a row now, we have improved from the year before. I think that's new. Last year was really clear. The way it ended in 2022 was devastating. It was so devastating that it lingered in the back of your mind for the entire offseason. And you can even argue that it may have lingered into the start of this season at times from supporters and maybe the players. This year, we end the season, and when the dust settles, it's going to be, I would say, it's going to be a tick. Last year was the debate, is it a success or is it a failure and whatever. This year, it's clearly we took big steps forward. We not only made the finals, we impacted. We won, not only won one, we won 2. We, took it right up to Brisbane for a quarter or a half, whatever. So there's positive connotations with how 2023 played out. So I'm curious as to how their motivation levels are affected from a negative experience and now a positive experience.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, as an amateur and a professional, I know how many times I won from leading in the 3rd round. It was once out of 18.
Really?
It was a psychological thing. I could chase, but leading, I looked at the scoreboard. It used to get inside my head. Like, I felt like I couldn't control it. When I was chasing, my mindset was, I control you, but
right.
I can't, when I'm playing for something, if I'm leading, I find that a real dark place. And it's weird that I did a lot of psychology to coach other pros quite successfully. Couldn't do it myself, though. And my brain couldn't allow me to change in. So that's going to be really interesting what you say there, Terry. They've got better. So now the shift for these boys is, what is driving you? What can you take away? It was really easy at round 12 to switch your mindset and go, right, okay, we've got nothing to fucking play for, right? We're bottom 4. They're sacking Voss. They're trading me if I'm a player. It's easy to come out and go, you know what, fuck it. Fuck it. If we're going to get sacked, we're going to go out on our sword. So for the boys now, it's what motivates you. It's what can you take that's not hate. And it's sometimes really easy. And look inside yourselves. It's really easy to rise in hate. Sometimes really hard to rise in love.
Yes.
Because I see that as a parent. I back my kids all the time, but then when I'm in a work environment, I don't back my staff all the time. Do you know what I mean? I don't back my staff all the time. If they fuck up, quite happy telling them that they're shit. With your kids, though, it's a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? To tell your kid, look him in the eye and go, you're dog shit. So it's finding that happy medium, do you know what I mean, of how you motivate them. And I think one thing that we've learned as fans and the team is there is more to just the result. And I want to take you back on a journey to yesterday's fan cams. I asked you all some little interesting psychological questions about who's the person you call, win, lose. What's your takeaway memory of this season? 90% of all them answers were something, dare I say it, Disney. It was romantic. It was something outside of just the game. It was being in the moment, being together, being part of something bigger than you. And that's what these boys have got now. They have got that opportunity where they've booked the trend. They've got through steel side bottom laughing. They've got through, Shy Bolton going, it's Carlton's grand final, round one. Now, they have got something so much bigger than anything else, and that's a chance to cement themselves in history. They've got pride. They've got respect. And now it's about kicking ass. And I think they'll do it. I think they'll surprise a few people.
Yeah. Well, look, there is a maturity, no doubt. Luke Sayers mentioned that in his letter to the members today, and also in the conversation I had with him. And look, we'll see. It's just a watch this space, how they're motivated. Ur, with an $80 donation, says we need more pace around the ball next year. Williams and Binns will be good additions next year. No doubt about it.
Gotta have pace. I gotta have pace. Hey, George Michael, Pom Michael.
Chat, give us a sentence to summarize the preliminary final. Pom, can we talk about the first quarter? It was the, you know what it was? It was the taste. It was the taste of what can happen. And I'm so grateful that we didn't go watch a prelim where we got battered from quarter one all the way to quarter four. Remember when the D's made the prelim a few years back? Played West Coast in the granny, and it was just a demolition from start to end. I remember thinking before the game, okay, what is this going to be? We've come from nowhere. We've made a prelim. Is it going to be like Melbourne 2018, or are we actually going to be a Cinderella story and make the grand final? And what do you need to do away from home? You got to shut up the crowd. We did it. And usually it's like, all right, kick the first 3. That's a big tick. But to kick 5 and just completely have the Gabba rocking, where I was sitting, full of Brisbane Lions supporters. There were 5 Carlton supporters around me. That was it. And they were completely shell-shocked. So how did you experience that?
I keep saying that Gold Coast are the Audi Carlton. We're the Audi Brisbane. I can prove that because how we won and lost that game is black and white. If you look at the first quarter, Carlton had generated scores from 9 versus 3 forward half intercepts. 18 times we intercepted the ball in the midfield versus 7 to them. Do you know what I mean? Carlton's conversion from transition was ridiculous. We led 13-1 in forward half tackles. Carlton's average all year, where everyone's complained about, was the back half of the ground. Carlton scored a staggering 18 points from the back half of the ground, scoring all of its points from turnover. Do you know what I mean? So then you look at the end of the game, and them numbers are damning. Right?
Yeah.
It flips in the inverse, and you saw the difference in quality. And a big part of that was the pressure at the first point of contact. Carlton managed to make them kick long in that first. It looked a dream. We'd unlocked it. We'd unlocked everything we questioned about our team. We unlocked it. We were making Brisbane look shallow and average. It was 2018 Brisbane had come out to play. We'd made them look the kids. They looked like the pretenders. But then that second half, that second quarter particularly, they worked it out. They knew that Carlton couldn't stay at 190 pressure. And where Brisbane managed to keep themselves in an area that they could counter, Carlton ultimately couldn't counter. There was nothing left in the tank. And You know what? That first quarter, I'm with you. I think there was a moment in the first quarter I was sat front row of the grand final parade. Do you know what I mean? I'm not even joking. Mentally, I was like, fuck, we need to get down there. We're going to stream all day. We're going to do interviews. We'll do a cascade watch along. Like, my mind was literally already there. I was there. I'd tasted it. It was fucking gross. But then there was the reality that someone said in the thing, a lesson in perspective. That perspective came out. They'd been there. They'd done it. They've had the experience. That extra game, all them stats started going through my head in that second quarter of teams don't win the flag outside the 4. And you started to see why. Mm-hmm. Carlton had their worst pressure rating since Essendon, 120. You could see we couldn't get near it. And once they started to use the ball and have time on the ball, they cut us apart. The third quarter, that lack of ability to get a mark and kick deep, they had that, we didn't. And, you know, ultimately, it was a tough loss. You don't get these opportunities in life very often. But, do you know what I mean? They'll live, they'll learn. And I don't think any lead in the first could have won that game. I think Carlton needed another second quarter. I think if they could have replicated that and got 60 up at half-time, they could have done. But in fact, that goal at the end was ominous. Watching the replay, that goal right at the end was fucking ominous because it was so easy. It was so easy, and it kind of was the forerunner of what you'd see for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Touch on the belief that was put into... We've dared to dream for 3 months, but to truly dream about a grand final and truly believe you can be there and win a premiership, it came, and that's what they in turn gave us with that first quarter. So much so, for me anyway, to the point where I thought we had banked the ultimate brownie points in that first quarter, that even in the fourth, when we were down 3 goals or 4 goals, I think we had kicked 2 in a row. And when we had kicked 2 in a row, I'm like, I know we're going to win this game still because of what we did in the first quarter, and it's going to pay us back. And we've got another little run here, and it's going to be magical. Probably up until there was 3 minutes left, I still believed deeply. And and that's an experience from me. And that's someone who has never been to a prelim. And I know there's types of pain. This pain's a different type of pain. Like, there's a devastation because of how close we were. And then last year was a devastation from really how far away we were from the premiership, but how close we were just to taking a minute step forward into contending.
Never be ashamed for believing. Belief is the building blocks of everything great in the world. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I can't think of anything I have in my life that I take and hold dear that didn't start because I had a bit of belief. I believed I was going to meet a beautiful woman. I believed I was going to have a beautiful family. I believed I was going to have a better life than I grew up with. Without belief, I would have been fucking miserable, drunk in a pub at 38 years old saying women are evil, life shit. So you always be thankful that you believe. Few people believe in anything anymore. But I agree with you, Terry. I mean, at the end of the day, it hurts. We lost. Like, I'll never be one of these guys to come in here and say, hey, we lost. Woohoo! Right? But I think we've got to look at it in perspective. We got dealt a lesson in something. And Peter Louis always hits the nail on the head. First quarter, once that pressure stopped, and what does pressure do? If we actually take the song and dance and take the rose petals out of this year, last week was just a lesson in pressure.
Yep.
We lacked skill, we lacked polish, but what we lacked, right, in skills, we made up for in pressure. We made it hard. This week, you saw once the pressure was gone, we aren't as good a ball movement side as them. We can't generate opposition. We can't generate good inside 50s. We can't take the game on with elite standards, right? And that's what we proved. Once we lost that pressure, our vulnerability with the ball in hand and what we can do with it was shown. And That's a big case. We can't dine out on being a good defensive side all the time. We're going to have to add that element of offense. And how does that happen in the long term? That's going to be the next layer of the game. It feels like I don't want to scare everyone, but we've gone back to 2017 Bolton, right? Where we've got the defense down part. It's now adding that next layer. And that's going to be what's really exciting if Carlton can find them levels, right, of doing that for 4 quarters without the pressure. Always been. These have been abnormal pressure numbers. We're hitting nearly 200 at times. We did it against Melbourne for nearly 4 quarters. That's not sustainable. That isn't, because you are going to burn out when it happens. So for Carlton, it's about trying to polish them things, really getting the moments, particularly from the back half of the ground. That first quarter, our ability to transition takes a lot of pressure off the boys. They don't have to work so hard when you're kicking it out the back. It's about doing that for 4 quarters, though, having that in your arsenal. It's great being good at defending. We should be able to be top 5 for turnover and transition. So they're the things that we'll start to learn as we get better. We've got a real good foundation, though. And it's getting it for 4 quarters. Like Maz says, we did do it in the first quarter. Now it's about getting it for 4 quarters. Yeah. And it's about learning them things. Because that pressure when it's 195, that just hides our inaccuracies elsewhere. And there was a lot of loose kicks in the first. I think most of you will agree. If you go back and watch the first quarter, it's actually a shit lead. You go back and think we could have been more.
Yep.
And there should have been. There were some routine entries we messed up. So them composure and stuff, hopefully that'll come. Is that personnel? Is that maturity? Is that changing something? We don't know yet. But ultimately, 9 out of 10 parts of our game are good. It's just adding that final layer. And that's why we lost a prelim.
Yeah. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you lose 8 of 9 in a regular season. When it's all said and done, the big picture smashes you in the face. Very few, if any, teams are going to be able to win a premiership by putting themselves in the position that we put ourselves in. So there is that offensive discussion that you just mentioned. That's not a new conversation. I think it's improved, year to year, but it's still a pretty glaring hole for us to fill. And I'm with you. So we're in the window now, I'd say, because we've been able to make the finals and make a prelim and so on and so forth. So how much do you balance the fact that we're in a window? Do we go and fill these needs with players who play in other clubs who have experience in finals or who have played in premierships? Or do you back in the development program that we have at the club to get that right?
I think you've got to back it in. I think you've got to back in what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? You can't keep buying players in from other clubs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a reason that every side of the last 20 years has over 85% drafted. There's a reason, right? They have good systems. And one thing this season showed is we've got a good system. We've used so many players, right? Do you know what I mean? Dow came from nowhere. Your boy Fisher came from nowhere. Jesus was a lock in the side. Then he wasn't. And then Owies, Cottrell, all these boys started to rise. I think there's no surprise when you look at Brisbane's makeup compared to ours statistically throughout the year. Their goals from midfield and their goals from high half forward, they're averaging over 1.5 goals a game. And when you look at Carlton, although our spread has got better, Charlie Kerner and Matty Owies and the Smalls have chipped in, still having 2 reliable half forwards and the goals from midfield. They're still not coming. When you've got Cripps at 0.3 and he would be the worst midfielder at Brisbane, it paints a picture. Carlton need more avenues to go, and that is by getting more quality entries, getting the ball deeper and taking the game on a little bit. And that's something that, you've got to remember, we can't have everything.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the end.
We have a lot.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? We've got the right areas. It's just about refining a little bit. And I think once you've got Zach Williams in that team, that's going to make the ball movement out the back quicker. It's obvious at the moment when it's Chincotta and when it's Marchbank clearing the ball, you're waiting an age. right? You're waiting an age, and that's not their fault. That's how they are. Once they're there, bang, 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 hit targets. Everything's there. It's just these little ingredients, and it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting what they do in the next season. We've got some suggestions later on in the show, but you know what? It's not all doom and gloom.
No, certainly not. This off season will be one where how many games do you think are watchable again as a replay, like that you actually are excited to watch again? Because I felt like the last few years there haven't been many. Get to off season and I don't really want to watch many of the replays, but I feel like there's a couple of games this year that I'm going to enjoy watching again.
I watched the Essendon game a lot. That might surprise you all. You might be like, Pom. No,
doesn't surprise me.
No, I watch it a lot because I think sometimes in life you can get too content with what you've got.
Yeah.
And I think that's why depression is high. People focus on the good times. They don't focus on the bad times. And when you strip it back, you'll realize you've been in the shit more than you've been in the good.
Yep.
And it kind of puts perspective. I watched that, and as upset as I watched this yesterday, that was the first thing I did. I watched the Essendon game. And I was like, okay, Pom, you're upset you conceded a 5-goal lead. Explain this shit. Right? Explain this shit. And then I remember 13 weeks from there, I played in a prelim, and that's good. So that's going to be a game that I think I'll probably watch to the rest of my life, just to keep myself in perspective. When we win a flag, I'll need to bring myself down. I'll watch the Essendon game and go, Pom, it wasn't always this good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my favourite game, if you ask me what game would I like to relive the experience, the Melbourne game. I think the Melbourne game for me, start to finish, was everything I love about this football club. Heart, desire, glaring misses, glaring weaknesses, but made up for with heart and tenacity. And I think that's probably my favourite Carlton win of all time since I've been here. I think everything I love about sport, that was it.
Yeah, you don't always get rewarded for heart and grit and determination, and the phrase honourable loss starts coming into your mind. But yeah, we I would say we were lucky, for the Melbourne game, but I would say, that was purely out of what we created, the luck that we created. And maybe that luck, I actually still thought even in the Brisbane game just now that we had a bit of that luck. I mean, Charlie Cameron missing some of those shots on goal started giving me some confidence. I think Cripps kicking his goal in the second gave me confidence because it was a quote unquote critical moment. But the luck ran out. And again, circling back, that's why we have to improve the way we move the ball, and not just always rely on this heart and determination and this grit. What's that saying? Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes you need a bit more than just love. Or in this case, you need a little bit more than just heart. You need to actually be clinical. And now we're about to watch a granny where, let's be honest, the two best teams are playing off when you look at the totality of the year.
I think what will burn the players as well is know that they played Collingwood at their best and beat them.
Yep. And smacked them.
Do you know what I mean? I think that will sting, and I hope it does sting them to watch that and go, you know what, on our day we can beat these guys. And obviously the Lions is probably the game that Carlton probably have a little mental edge. They have a mental edge against us. We haven't beaten them since 2019, since the Cripper Day.
Yep.
So that's going to be something that they'll watch and go, right, okay, our brand stacks up against probably 80% of the league. If we want to beat the other 20%, we've got to find that way. We've got to find that way to be more dynamic, and we can't turn every game like Gav nails it. Do you know what I mean? We can't turn every game into a street fight. Some sides are too good. Brisbane are too smart. They weren't going to play that game. Melbourne, their DNA is stand up and have a tear up. Brisbane's isn't. That they don't want to do that, and they're too smart. Floyd Mayweather, you could knock him out if you can hit him. Problem is you can't fucking hit him, right? Everyone always says, oh, he's weak, he can't knock you out. Problem is, can't knock out what you can't punch. And that's what Brisbane were. Brisbane were just too evasive. So Carlton have got to find a way of, right, okay, Does Zach Williams improve it? But then what happens when Zach Williams there? And it's really easy to do because you can answer these questions with other questions. If Zach Williams was there, would the midfield have ran? Because the midfield went stagnant in the second quarter. They dropped back to make their life easier again, right? It's about getting out of them habits when it's tough. And, ultimately, they'll get it right. I've got no doubt these boys will get it right.
Yep. I watched Chris Fagan's press conference after the game. He just kept drawing on their experience. He kept drawing on, he touched on Geelong last year, that when they lost in the prelim to Geelong and the champion team and the things that they drew on. He said that all year he said externally we haven't spoken about it, but internally we've always looked to draw on our experiences. And I think that's also part of why we were so angry with them. Because let's be honest, we were angry at the club because we wanted just even to be here, talking about finals lessons, not, we're 2.5 games out. If only we won that game against Adelaide in round 17. So the experience is undefeated. The reality of the need for experience is undefeated. And now we move completely away from this fairy tale magic la situation that we were in. And now it's real, it's real. And we're not guaranteed to be there next year. And then also we were pretty healthy on Saturday. That was a pretty complete version of our best 22. The core group. We're all out there fit and firing. And then there's also next year's a totally different season, totally different set of circumstances. I dare say we're not going to go in an 8 of 9 hole. I hope we don't go in an 8 of 9 hole again. But how are we going to be able to handle, a couple of losses next year, which will happen from time to time?
We've learned the benchmark. Do you know what I mean? We learned the benchmark against GWS. How the fans reacted against GWS. It's probably how we need to react. I'm speaking for myself here of how we need to react on all losses.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Take the emotion out of it and understand why and understand how they can get better. Because I remember some people were saying, end of that GWS, we've shown who we are. It's false hope. They came out and they fucking dick Sydney the next week. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? That they were up for it. So we've got to really get behind the boys. I think from round 1 to round whenever we end next year, this stronger together, like says, she nails it. The stronger together is the best thing this club has ever done. None of this bollocks we're coming or can you smell what we're cooking? We need something that's tangible that we can get behind. And one thing that we've proved is when we're together, we're unbeatable. We went to Brisbane and we made fucking noise. Do you know what I mean? At fucking $8,000 a flight. Like, that's how mental we are. We've got to make MCG and Marvel our fortress. That'll go a long way for doing it. And we've got to make sure we repeat it. Do you know what I mean? Because Petra nails it. I've got a few mates at other clubs and they always pencil in Carlton as 4 points. And he's spot on. They plot their way. Now we're that 50-50 game. We're that game. You probably don't want us. Like, Richmond, this will be the first time Richmond this year will be going into this game looking at the ladder and going, fuck.
Carlton.
Fuck. And you know what? Wouldn't it be nice if Cripps comes out and goes, it's their grand final? Throw it back. But, that's the beautiful thing. We've been the butt of jokes. We're not the butt of jokes anymore. Now people are taking us serious.
Can I just take a moment to give my appreciation? I've seen some commentary around the music at the Gabba after goals. I was a big hater of it. I have been completely swayed. It's one of the best things I've ever experienced. Not because of the music. I hate the songs. But the people in the crowd, they all they roar it. And there came a time in that second quarter where the Lions got on their run and they drowned us out with their sound and with their energy. And like it or hate it, they created an atmosphere there at the Gabba, which I saw firsthand why the Gabba has become such a hard place to win at. we are loud and proud when we kick goals, and generally we're loud. We've got the woof that we've added to the way we cheer at games. And don't worry, in that first quarter it was all Carlton, but over the course of the 4 quarters, man, I'm singing Country Road, Take Me Home. Like it's very different listening to it on TV than being there at the ground, and I have a new appreciation for it.
It's not the songs. Like, you look at big soccer clubs, they have some really shit songs, some songs that genuinely are rubbish, right? But what makes them good are songs that people can sing along to, because it gets them off their feet and it gets the confidence. Do you know what I mean? It's a lot easier singing things like Sweet Caroline with 80 people than singing it on your own. So it's one of them songs, isn't it? Your nan gets up and sings John Denver songs. Your nan sings up and sings Sweet Caroline. So it's them little things. So, like, do you know what I mean? We've got to start doing that. Danny knows it. You never walk alone. It's not a song you sit at home and go, stick that on. But when it comes on, you know the fucking lyrics. I'm a United fan. I know the lyrics to You Never Walk Alone because of all the times I've got to Anfield. It's endowed in the psyche of my mind. So I think we need to find our own thing like that. It's very important, the energies. It's why I get so angry in the watch along when people say, oh, Carlton have lost, oh, it's game over. Energies are so fucking important. It's vulgar. In that game, Brisbane never thought they were going to lose. And for us to be brilliant, we have to always have that belief and maintain it. And ultimately, the boys maintain that belief. And hopefully we can come up with something witty. I'm scared, though, because honestly, I don't really hold much faith in the Australian sporting fraternity coming up with something that's good. Because the Seven Nation Army is a great idea, but it's got to be utilized right. And you want to get the old Seven Nation Army is a young song. Something like Sweet Caroline and something is young people know. My kids know that song just from the intro. But an 80-year-old man, I love that from Peter Louis. I've always thought Blue Moon. I hate Man City, but Blue Moon is a song that everyone knows, and it's an easy song to sing.
Fair. What else is on your mind after that, mate? As we wrap up the prelim,
I just want to do it again.
Yeah. Oh, bumped into Callum and his lovely partner Carla, who won the all expenses paid trip. That was special. So the people the Carlton supporters who were at the game, oh man, we spoke last week about that duty that was felt. The people who were there that I did bump into and spoke to, like, it was just the complete. There was a total buy-in from our supporters who were there and what they needed to do. I loved it.
Mate, we've got an absolute brilliant fan base. And you know what? This last 8 weeks has really showcased the wonderful things. And, you know, I hope the players know. In sport, whether we like to admit it, it probably gives us some of our best moments. Do you know what I mean? And I think this year has been so much better because my team has won. Some of the shit that's happened has been more manageable. I didn't realize how much football affected me.
Yeah.
But it's been great. So we are in such a good place. And we've got to keep this momentum because we've got the accountability from the club now. And don't let anyone tell you nothing. That after that Essendon game, the fan base massively forced the club to change something up. Yeah. So that's the power we have, right? So now it's about maintaining that level of trust with the club, the level of love, and getting them to the next stage. Because now the real work begins. Yeah. Any idiot can come from a losing position to win. It's a lot harder to win and keep winning.
And stay hungry. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Because you can get comfortable in your off season knowing, oh, it's all right. We made a prelim. Those thoughts could potentially creep in. Oh, I did enough in 2023 to hold my spot. Whereas everyone was on notice end of 2022 and there was the anger. But anyway, off-season content. It begins. We're back, baby. Let's go. Let's go. What have you got for us tonight? I know you put some things together.
Yeah, so what I did, because, you know, I'm a sad little cookie, is I thought, what do we need? So, I mean, I think everyone will agree that probably Fisher and Dow will be no longer part of the football club. It seems media...
Not everyone.
Terry will deal with it. But I think, I mean, reading most of the articles, there's no smoke without fire in this game.
Yeah.
And I think if we're honest with ourselves, both of them are at the age that they need to play football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've got to stop being selfish, and they're probably good enough to play 25 games elsewhere. So what I thought is, let's have a look at the things that we can maybe ascertain. Do you know what I mean? Because we're at that stage now where we ascertain. So the first little sexy man is, we thought we'd go through the draft. So we'll go with picks. So this guy here, I'm a big fan of. Why has that happened?
Yeah, let me fix that. Hang on. Hang on. We'll do this. We'll do this. Go. You continue. I'll fix it.
Okay, so we've got Mr. Carlton Football. Now, this kid here is talented, and he comes straight from the areas that we need, but he's been playing 90% of his time high half forward, pinch hitting in the middle. This kid is explosive. He's got massive speed, massive X factor. And the big thing for you Carlton fans is his ability to hit targets. This guy is a machine. And this could be something here that Carlton look at and think that, are we going to continue the experiment of playing Cottrell half forward when he's a winger? Or are we going to look at developing our own? He's a nice size, 188, 80 kegs, plays a lot taller than he is, got great hair. And you'll notice in this draft class, everyone has got great hair. This is the hair draft, I'm calling it. But right in the purview of Carlton's picks, this guy is. This guy will definitely be a pick anywhere from 15 to 25. Yep. Definitely late first rounder, and suits the bill. Another WA boy.
That also suits the bill. Interesting.
Another WA boy. But he's a great little player. And you can see here, look, one goal, just under one goal again, 2.2 tackles, 3.4 marks, and the modern day high half forward now is around that 188, 190 mark. So, do you know what I mean? It's Carlton are one of them rare teams. We either play a midget or we play a pseudo tall there. But you look at the top players, they're all around that 188 mark.
Okay. Who else have we got?
He's the same dimensions, just so you know, as well as my favourite player, who is probably the best high half forward in the game, Bailey Fritsch.
Oh, see, this is the name that I can get around. Dematia.
Yeah, so again, probably the same area of the draft, somewhere between 15 and 20. Dandenong Stingrays. So we've got previous with them. So Carlton will look at this guy here, and this kid here has got exceptional talent. Played a bit more midfield time, but he has slotted half forward. And this is kind of the direct replacement of Zach Fisher, because towards the end of this season, he started being deployed down back. This guy's speed is insane. Do you remember a guy called Jack Petrocelli?
Yep.
He's got a bit of speed like him, and he's hungry for the tackle. Real nice ball use as well, this guy. He's got real good little foot on him, and he takes the game on, and he's a very creative player as well. Really finds space, and he's one of them players that in this draft here doesn't need much work. He's almost ready to go. And genuinely, when you look at teams at juniors who have been moved down the back, that's generally because they're trying to showcase something. And his coach at Dandenong, it needs to be said, Brodie Kemp, was the last one that Carlton fell for. So when he played as a kid, he was moved on the ball by Bendigo. And Bendigo's coach came out and said, we moved him on the ball because we wanted to showcase his versatility. Dandenong's coach saying the same thing. So when we draft him, please don't start saying he's a halfback flanker. They've done it because they wanted to showcase his breakaway speed, and he's got massive speed, his pressure, but also his distribution. He loves to deliver the ball out in front of his players, and that's a big little thing that you'll see. But this kid here has got some serious talent and some serious pace. 184, so a bit smaller than his mate, but definitely got that upside. But it's kind of like a Fogarty with massive pace. He really likes that pressure. That's the proud part of his game.
I like the average tackles. That's an impressive figure. Okay.
He likes his tackles as this kid. He likes it. But remember, we're looking at IR forward. We've got a lot of tacklers. We want some creative. And this guy here has probably been my favourite throughout the draft. You saw Colston, who is probably number one favourite. Moore is my second favourite. I'm a sucker for players that have this kind of X factor like this guy. And this kid here has got everything you want. 188, 84, plays high half forward, but also has been deployed in the forward pocket area. Big thing about this guy is his ability to work from the pocket to half forward. He loves that run. Which we haven't seen since Righty, since Matty Wright. Lead from the pocket and take a mark 55-60 out. He loves that. Plays really big for such a small guy. Very like Keziah Pickett, who's that unassuming height, but seems to take specky marks. Consistency issues with this guy, like you expect with a player who's got high X factor, so you always expect low consistency. But this guy, when he bangs them in, he's got a beaut of a foot as well, real penetrating kick, but he loves to take the game on, and he can kick goals from anywhere. He loves a snap from the pocket. So in a forward line that loves a snap, this guy fits right in.
I like his name. Moya.
Nice little pretty guy. And then if Carlton want to go a little bit exotic, right? A little bit exotic. And you all talk about running power and speed. This guy here is he's the drafty Sard. We'll call him
drafty Sard.
The Sandy Sard, we'll call him. That would be his nickname. This guy finds the ball, but this guy, when he takes off, and really in the mold, if Carlton wanted to maybe, and this is something that we're going to have to look with Voss, there was a lot of reports that Williams was training with the midfield group, right? The midfield group. So you'd imagine with the way Voss has rotated his halfbacks and his halfbacks, his half forwards, they've all been on the ball. This guy is a traditional run and carrier, booming left foot, very accurate, deadly kick, but he's got pace to burn, and he takes the game on. And this might be one of them things that Carlton look at and go, you know what, we've got the personnel to lean on him. This will be a top 20 pick, mark my words, and he'll be one of these players that will be AFL ready. And this could be one of them ones that Carlton look at moving on their future third for a couple of early seconds and really maximising this outside run down back. Because you'd say that Pomcotter and Boyd are probably the roles that are probably up for grabs in that team. Now, will one of them be Cowan? Looking at the way Hamill talks about the four toes, Cowan's taller than the average bear. Cowan don't have the small who has a massive point of difference. And Archie, if you were 3 years from now, was saying who would you rather have, Boyd, Pomcotter, or Archie Roberts? Archie Roberts all day long, because this guy can intercept, very strong on the ground. But when he moves and he's given goes, this guy is what you see in top-level football, killing teams at the moment, looking for that give and go and spreading the play, and he's got a real nice kick on him.
I like the comments talking about how every team needs an Archie. I think I might agree with that.
He is. And you've got to think as well, Cowan, Peter Louis, he's got a booming kick. I'm Cowan's number one ticket holder. Big difference between Archie and him is their pace and the way that they use it. So someone like Cowan has got that real big, long, booming kick. Archie is that very in and under handball line breaking player, which is different from Cowan. Cowan's a bit of a taller and a lot more stronger in the air than this guy. This guy's more of that run and stun transitional threat. And then Ollie's brother. So if you go back to the interview I did with Mr. Ollie, there's a real good bit where he talks about what's it like having a brother in the system. And one of the big things he said, which we can kind of take out of it, was all the lessons that Elijah learned, he now gets a head example. And he did say that one of the things that Elijah taught him is everything the coaches ask you to do, don't dig your heels in. Don't dig your heels in and just embrace it. Just go with it. And that's quite interesting when you look at Elijah and what he's done in this year in the VFL. It's been real good football from him. Real massive improvements. And finally, we're starting to see the strides. Now, you're looking for a genuine half forward. I think Carlton are on the right wavelength. They're playing Motlop at high half forward. That's been Voss's favourite thing this year. He seems to stray away from having the 4 tolls in the forward line, which you understand. Elijah is that modern day 188, 189 that's still got an elite engine, but is incredibly quick. And when we go back to his draft year, this guy was one of my favourites, Elijah, and we did mention him on this very show. Elijah was one of the guys we talked about. This kid's built different, and you look at his entries, he loves a deep kick. All of his kicks in VFL this week against Werribee, goal square. He's got big penetration on him. And I don't buy into the sentiment, brothers working together. I don't buy into that. Me and my brothers didn't work like that. It worked against you, how you'd think. I think these two are incredibly competitive. And I think what Elijah needs is that change of scenery, come home. And he's sorted his injury issues out in the back end of the year. He's changed a lot of things. I think he deserves a chance with us. He won't cost much money. He's already ready to go. And I think this kid could be another Blake Acres in the terms of one of them guys that has been forgotten about by his club. Second chance could go, and this kid at juniors kick goals for fun, man.
Yeah,
kick goals for fun.
Okay. Well, we're going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to the draft and the trade. I haven't even touched on mature age. I'm mindful that the Brownlow is about to begin, so we want to wrap things up so we can get to watching the Brownlow. Early question to ask, but we've been saying this for years. I don't know how much relevance it has right now. What do you think about bringing in premiership players now? As in guys who we won't rely on to play a game every single week, but in big moments and in the cut and throat of the whole season, you want IQ, intelligence, and experience on the list. How much more important is that conversation for you now?
Got 25 players with finals experience, Terry.
Yeah, I mean premiership experience. Like, you know, I was reading today, like the James Harmses or maybe some of these Richmond guys potentially. How much weight do you put into that?
I don't think it can be anyone. So
yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like when people talk about the Luke Hodge was the main event at Hawthorn.
Yeah.
No disrespect to James Harms, but he was a dude who happened to have 19 fucking good footballers win him a flag, and all he had to do was kick goals. If it was someone like a Luke Hodge for a year to replace Ed Gurner, someone who was of that ilk, yeah, maybe. But for me, I think carry on doing what you're doing. We've done it the hard way. We've got the model. I think now it's hit the draft hard this year and next year and pick up some maturer players like your Elijahs and stuff and have a punt. But like for me, there's no one out there. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, no one screams out.
James Harms doesn't excite me.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say, I could be wrong, but if I sat the Melbourne list down and said, who was the big part of you winning the flag? If one of them says James Harms, I'm saying, fuck off.
Fair. All right. I want to show you the preview for the Jumper Punch tomorrow. It's a fan favorite, and this is a bit of a full circle moment.
G'day everyone, Brett Ratton here from the Carlton Footy Club. Make sure you watch the Jumper Punch every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Jumper Punch. Spot on.
Play properly. in totality?
What?
Did that play? Did that video play?
Yeah.
Okay, great. It kind of lagged for me a little bit. I wasn't sure if that was for everyone. But yeah, Brett Ratton back talking in a Carlton landscape. So that's nice. Quickly, Pom, who wins the Brownlow?
I can't remember what I said. I've got a 3-way tie on my count. I've got Tracker, Dacos, Butters, 3-way tie on 33 with Sarong winning it but being ineligible.
You think Sarong will win the Brownlow but be ineligible, therefore will not win the Brownlow?
No one's going to take votes off Sarong. All the other midfielders have been gashed when they've won.
I love it. I love it. Well, mate, thank you very much. As always, ladies and gents, thanks for being here. I know it's tough. It's only a few days after a prelim loss, but, into off-season content we go. We will review the season once the grand final's done. We will do the BA award show. We will do all sorts of things, trade and draft period content coming your way. We will have daily things happening. So stay tuned and go Blues.
Go Blues.